At 6 years old, watching Star Wars when it first came out was a huge blast. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so excited to see it. I went and saw it multiple times at the movie theater, and I just loved it. I didn't know that there was going to be a second episode coming out. The Empire Strikes Back. So when the Empire Strikes Back came out, it was labeled Episode 5. And then it showed that Star Wars had been labeled Episode 4. And I was super confused because I had no idea what was going on. In Star Wars, they talk about how Luke's dad was a fighter pilot and a freighter pilot, and he was killed by Darth Vader and stuff. And there was a lot of backstory. But I didn't understand any part of why they put made it Episode 4 and 5. And Mark Hamill asked the same thing to George Lucas. And there's an article on here that I want to read. And afterwards, I will give you my ideas and thoughts about why I think it was a great idea, what George Lucas did, and what's the best way to watch Star Wars. I'll give you my opinion. So stick with me. We'll read this and I will get to it. Let me pull it up for you. All right, so on ScreenRant.com, it says, why haven't we started with Episode 1? Mark Hamill reveals George Lucas's answer to the ultimate Star Wars question. Mark Hamill has revealed George Lucas's answer to the ultimate Star Wars question, why did it all begin with Episode 4? Viewers were no doubt surprised back in 1981, like I said I was, when George Lucas retroactively added Episode 4 as a subtitle to the first Star Wars movie. Since then, there's been unending debate about the best Star Wars viewing orders, and it doesn't really help that the franchise continues to hop around the timeline. Speaking on the Smartless podcast, Mark Hamill has revealed he asked Lucas that during production. I said to George, why is this Episode 4? Why haven't we started with Episode 1? And he goes, Episode 1, there's a lot of exposition. It's more political. This trilogy is more commercial. The way I understood it was that he originally planned for 4 trilogies. When we were shooting, I asked him about the first trilogy, and he said, this is more commercial. There's a lot of exposition, political, about taxation, blah, blah, blah. He wanted you to feel like you walked into a serial chapter play and you'd missed the first few episodes. That's why they had to crawl to bring you back up to speed. It's reasonable to assume Hamill asked this during production of The Empire Strikes Back, because that was when Lucas first began banding the episode titles around. It was also after Lucas had settled on the idea Luke Skywalker was Darth Vader's son, which would become the backbone of the entire Skywalker saga. Star Wars wouldn't have been a hit if it began with Episode 1. George Lucas's instincts were right. Lucas' instincts were right. I doubt Star Wars would have been anywhere near as big if he tried to begin with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. For one thing, it would have been almost impossible to make the movie with 1970s technology and fight choreography. Meanwhile, the episodic format does indeed lend itself well to the idea of being thrown into a story partway through, helping create the sense that this galaxy is a real place. Personally, this was one of the reasons I fell in love with Star Wars in the first place. I experienced the saga completely out of order. I watched A New Hope back in 1991, then headed out to the bookshop to pick up Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire. It didn't diminish my enjoyment at all for the franchise, even though it did rather spoil some of the bigger twists when I got to watch The Empire Strikes Back. So what is the best Star Wars viewing order? George Lucas' comments are a clue. Let's loop this back to the immortal question, what is the best way to watch Star Wars? Lurking behind Lucas' more commercial is the idea that A New Hope is a better jumping on point for new viewers. It's more likely to get people hooked, leaving them wanting more, leading to their enjoyment the rest of the story. In contrast, a strictly episodic approach, beginning with The Phantom Menace and moving on, may be better for people who are already committed fans. They can watch the saga from beginning to end, spotting the thematic ties already spoiled for the twist. Maybe that's the real answer to which order Star Wars should be watched in. It depends. So, what are your thoughts? I think this article is spot on. I think if they would have come out with the Phantom Menace, it would have been okay. But for me, watching it, I didn't really care for the Phantom Menace that much when it first came out. It seemed um, kind of boring in a part. I mean, they have the Darth Maul and Obi-Wan fight, and Qui-Gon Jinn, them fighting together. That was pretty epic. Them going through the planet of Naboo and seeing the monsters. That was pretty cool. Um, but all the political stuff was pretty tiring to watch. Star Wars, when it came out, there was no Star Wars when it came out, there was no political aspect to it. Basically, I mean, Tarkin talked about how the Emperor had done away with the Senate, and now all the governors were going to take over the different systems under the Emperor. So that was, all the political you got basically, and everything else was like action and blowing up planets and stuff like that. So I think it's spot on saying that releasing Star Wars is what snagged people. And he's right. It was commercial because, man, they made a killing from all the toys that were produced for the movie. I had the Millennium Falcon, I had the X-Wing, I had Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. I didn't get that's one thing I really wanted. I got the ATST, the little two-legged one that would walk, and it was in Return of the Jedi on the planet Endor. I had Jabba's palace. I had the Death Star. It didn't last very long. I played with it too hard, and I had tons and tons and tons of the action figures. I just loved it. And as you can see now, I'm collecting new ones, the Black Series. Those are pretty sweet. Anyway, that's to say, I agree. I think Star Wars coming first was the right idea. The Phantom Menace just it backfilled everything that you needed to know about what happened up to the point of Star Wars. Now, as to the order of watching the movies, I think they were spot on that one too, because, or at least George Lucas was. I mean, seeing A New Hope, Star Wars: A New Hope, and then The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then you go back and you watch 1, 2, and 3. It kind of backfills everything. I showed my daughters which I shouldn't have done. I showed my daughters from beginning to the end of the Phantom Menace all the way to Return of the Jedi. We watched it all, and they're 8 years old, my twins, and when we got up to Empire Strikes Back, there was no big reveal. It was all, they already knew, because they knew that, and they knew Luke and Leia were sister and brother. And they knew that Anakin was Darth Vader, and they knew that Anakin was Luke's dad and Leia's dad, and there was no surprise. It was kind of a letdown for me watching them, and I felt sad. I felt sad that they didn't get the surprise and the excitement that I got when I saw The Empire Strikes Back, and Darth Vader says, "No, I'm your father," and it makes me sad that they didn't get that same excitement that I did. I mean, I was blown away. No way, Darth Vader is your dad. Now, watching it, I would agree, as I know everything, and I want to go back and rewatch it. I will watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's okay, because I know everything that's going to happen. And it makes a lot more sense to me, now knowing everything, but somebody that's brand new who's never seen it, no, I would always start with 4. So let me know what you think. Do you think that's a good idea? Or do you just say, nah, I don't even care about that. I would just watch it in order. And what do you think about them starring Star Wars first instead of episode 1? And there's a movie that came out in the 70s that really messed me over, and it has ties to Star Wars. And if you want to know what it is, check this video out. It'll let you know. Give it a like, and give this one a like, and then let me know what you think about this video. It's a good video. And subscribe if you haven't. And remember, the Force will be with you always.